Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This episode is the universal law of attraction. Before we get into it, real quick, I just want to mention we have a new patron who is Transient Apparitions. He or she is a Kiwi, New Zealander. So we certainly welcome him and thank him or her for their joining Patreon. What do you get with Patreon? Well, I've now downloaded 60 episodes of Astral Club onto Patreon for the use of my patrons, and they can use those downloaded episodes in any podcast app, and they can listen to it offline. Of course, there's also still no commercials for patrons. There's an email where we can talk back and forth and you can ask questions. As a matter of fact, this episode is involved with one of those questions. And you get your advanced videos on Sunday. Next up, private lessons. If you're interested in a lesson to learn to astral project, be more than glad to help you. Just send me an email and I'll send you the necessary information. And both the Patreon link and the information with the email address is in the description. The law of attraction. I think most people have heard about it or heard something about it at this point. And there's a lot of people talking about it, from spiritual folks who are actively trying to assist people in their growth, right on up to some shyster self-improvement promoters and certain religious fanatics have tried to use this law of attraction to make money for themselves. I'm not so sure about anyone else. But what I'd like to do is try to get to the crux of the law of attraction. Now, this question originally came from Jasmine, who is one of Astral Club patrons. And I decided to feature it. Now, she asked the question, is the law of attraction real? Is it real in the physical? Is it real in the astral? And I have to answer it in this way. Yes. And also, as many people currently understand it, no. Let me get into a better explanation so I can flesh out what is really a little bit more of a complex question. So first of all, what is the law of attraction? Well, there's really three basic components that typically are associated with the law of attraction. The first is like attracts like. Now, this law suggests that similar things are attracted to one another. It means that people tend to attract people who are similar to them. People who think positively and act positively tend to attract those type of people. Those with negative thinking processes tend to attract others who have similar experiences of a negative sort and beliefs. Negative thinking is typically associated with negative experiences, and positive thinking is typically associated with more desirable experiences. Of course, this is a very, very general type of statement. The next up is nature abhors a vacuum. This law of attraction suggests that removing negative things from your life can make space for more positive things to take their place. It's based on the notion that it is impossible to have a completely empty space in your mind and your life. So something will always fill this space. It's important to fill that space, though, with positivity, as the proponents of the law of attraction often say. And number three, the present is always perfect. Now, this law focuses on the idea that there are always things that you can do to improve the present moment. While it might always seem like the present is somehow flawed, this law proposes that rather than feeling dread or unhappiness, you should focus your energy on the positive and how you can go about improving your current state. Look at it as a positive challenge rather than something negative which is weighing on you or weighing you down. Now, as far as the law of attraction is concerned, it reminds me of several stories in my own life. On one hand, it reminds me of limousines. Not in the way that some of those spokespeople talk about them, but in a different way. Years ago, I worked with a company that sold parts to limo owners. And before I joined the firm, I rarely saw limos on the road. However, after learning all about limos, I found that I was now keenly aware of them. And whenever they appeared, I knew their model, their make, etc. Suddenly, it seemed to me that limos appeared to be everywhere I went. Now, of course, the number of limos didn't significantly change, but my awareness of them had been raised significantly. So, part of the law of attraction is changing your awareness to look for things that will cause you to improve your state and the state of those around you whom you are concerned about, and hopefully, in some way, humanity as a whole. Because you have shifted your awareness to a place where you suddenly are aware of a reality that you weren't currently aware existed because of blinders that you had on based on your limited form of thinking. My second story that I think is even more impactful in a very simplistic way. My mother, years ago, worked as the HR manager for a department store chain. This was in the late 70s, and the store was desperate for people. Anyone breathing was being hired. Well, one day a man walked into my mom's office, and her administrative assistant had gone off to lunch, so he went directly up to my mother. And he said these exact words, because this is the story my mother related to me. He said, "You ain't got no jobs, do ya?" Well, my mother responded automatically with no. This gentleman, with his negative attitude, found a way to fail in what was, in essence, a no-fail or a no-failure scenario. Because he walked in with the belief that there were no jobs available, that this attitude made it a reality. It's almost like someone who's dying of thirst in the desert because he's looking straight ahead and all he sees is sand. But he's so blind he won't look at the spring that's bubbling up right behind him. That's another, I think, major interesting reality when we're talking about the law of attraction and how one structures your thought process, whether you set yourself up for success or you set yourself up for failure. Now, what does this have to do with the astral plane? Because, of course, everything eventually comes back to the astral plane, and there's nothing wrong with talking about the physical, but certainly we want to make sure that the astral is involved as well. Now, we have the ability to mold the physical as well as the astral planes in conjunction with every other human on Earth and beings on the astral. This is the area that I know for a fact, that the hucksters don't really get into. They don't mention. They say that your reality is completely bound up in yourself, which is a half-truth. It's a half-truth because you do not exist by yourself. You are part of a community, part of a species here on Earth. And in the astral, you are part of a greater reality. We are not an island. We're a gigantic team working towards a variety of goals on both the physical and the astral planes. Imagine one of the ancient ships that were rowed by large groups of men. Each person changes the course and speed of his section of the ship as well as the others who do so. Now, as such, the ship proceeds at a speed and course that is a synthesis of all the efforts of all the rowers. Each rower is, in a real sense, controlling his fate to an extent, but only as a single will joined with all the others. None of us exists in a vacuum. We rise or fall together. This is a core concept that I think a lot of the people who talk about the law of attraction either aren't aware of or they don't fully appreciate its importance. You have a certain amount of control over yourself and over your fate. However, you don't exist in a cave off by yourself, isolated from the rest of society. At least very few people do. For the most part, you're one of the rowers on the ship of humanity. You have control over your portion of the ship, your oar, but not to the exclusion of all the other rowers. They're part of the overall effort as well. They're part of the plan too. So we can't just stare at our navels when we're thinking about the law of attraction. We have to realize that we're connected with billions of other people who are also maneuvering their fates and are trying to keep their ships off of the rocky shoals. Now, I believe that this above example, or at least rule of the law of attraction, I just don't think that everyone quite gets it or quite understands that end of things, which can be frustrating if all you get is part of the truth and not the whole truth. In actuality, there is a universal matrix, and we are building this as part of a vast construction of an intelligent, self-aware lives in the universe. So this matrix is enormous. It connects not only everyone here on Earth, but all other intelligent, self-aware entities throughout not just our galaxy, but the universe. Now, I know this takes a little bit of getting used to wrapping your head around this much greater reality. I mean, 1 minute you're thinking, well, all I have to do is think positively, I'm going to get everything I want. And now I'm telling you that it's a little bit more complex than that, because you're not playing the song by yourself. You're part of a symphony. Yes, your instrument is important to the overall work, but you're not the whole song. You know, there's many other people also playing their notes, and they have to be taken into account as well. And these truths are actually self-evident in the higher levels of the astral and beyond. They're not bizarre ideas like they might seem down here in the physical. In the higher levels of the astral, they're just understood. Physical people, unfortunately, often suffer under the illusion of separation on this plane. They feel isolated, alone, separate. The matrix is complex that writes our future, and we each make a valuable contribution to its overall construction. Now, practically speaking, using your will, and I always use all caps for that, to effect change on either planes, physical or the astral, is a matter of expenditure of directed energy and perfected will. Perfected will, of course, and that directed energy are two vital components. Not only must the energy be built and to be formed and to be efficiently expended, but your will must be perfect. There must be no intrusive thoughts leading the energy to bleed off elsewhere. However, your musical notes, as I indicated earlier, that you're playing here at this point, are just part of the symphony. If the notes you play are harmonious, they are accepted. But if they are discordant, they are rejected. So your will, your wishes, your expenditure of energy, if it is in harmony with the overall matrix that is intelligent infinity, then it will be accepted. However, if it does not fit in with this overall plan, let's use that word. Don't ask me who the planner is. I'm just trying to use the best English words I can. If your wishes or your will conflicts with the overall harmonious plan, then it will be rejected. So, where does that leave us? I believe the law of attraction operates in a similar way as everything that I have just discussed. You must be open and aware of what you wish to attract, and you must present a positive, goal-affirming attitude in your life. You must use directed energy and perfected will. But understand that you don't exist by yourself. You don't exist in a vacuum. And that if you do everything, quote unquote, right, and what you wish to appear does not immediately appear, well, it could be that the part of the plan that you're looking to control is set at a different point in time. You're not ready for it yet. You think you are, but the overall plan thinks you're not. So it won't appear until its time is ready. Or if you're asking for something that goes against the overall plan, if you will, then it will be frustrated. It's important to understand that, yes, the law of attraction can function in your favor, but it's not something that you can merely change or make appear just because you will it. It's got to gel with the overall wishes and plans. In this case, for humanity, and in a larger sense, the universe as a whole. When the time is right, a possibility will present itself, and then you'll be in a position to observe that this positive thing has come along, and you'll be in a position to willingly embrace it. If you enjoyed that, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure that bell says all so you get notified on Wednesday afternoon and Saturday morning when I post new episodes. Love your questions and comments. I'm sure there must be a couple of folks who have some things to say about the law of attraction because it's so darn popular out there nowadays. I hope I enlighten things to some extent. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.